What's up, everyone? This is Steven from Techmaker.tv. In this episode, we're going to take a look at a quick example of how to build out a simple state machine in Ruby. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. That helps me know what kind of content that you want me to make more of. Also, one thing I want to mention is that we're doing a bit of a reboot right now, so I'm not exactly sure where all of the series and stuff that we have going on are going to end up because we're really working on a lot of new content and working on our website right now. So there's going to be a lot of new stuff coming out in the next couple of weeks that I think that you will like. So definitely subscribe to the channel and check out our website techmaker.tv and drop your email over there if you want to get all of the updates. With all of that said, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to create a file in here and I'm just going to call it requirements.txt just so that we can start laying out exactly what is a state machine. So let's say, what is a state machine? So a state machine is something that meets three requirements at its most basic level. So it has a state. Actually, I'm going to say has a state. It has a method for transitioning between states. Okay, and then lastly, it has some kind of interface where events can be captured or something like that that will trigger the transition. So let's just say interface for triggering transition. So let's evaluate what all of this means. I don't know why it thinks all of this is misspelled. Whatever, we don't care. So what are some examples? So anything that you have that has an on-off switch in some sense is a state machine. So a hair dryer, you flip a switch on, you turn it off. It has a state. It's either blowing air or it's not. Your oven. So you click a couple of buttons to turn the oven on. It has a few different states. It's either off, it's heating, or it's idling, or it's at its temperature that you set. Another example that I think we will actually be using is a traffic light. So if we consider so we'll look at an example and let's say a traffic light. So what is the state? The state will be the current color. Okay, then what are the rules for transitioning? So let's say transition rules. So the only real rule is that it cycles from red to green to yellow to red, and then repeats, obviously. So the next question is, what is the interface? Now, on something like an oven, you're going to have buttons that you push that actually, either start the heating process or cancel. On a hairdryer, you actually have a switch that you can push up. And on the hairdryer example, we didn't really actually describe that, right? It's not necessarily in the state of on or off. It could be at high, medium, low, or off potentially. And some of the fancier ones even have cool air versus hot air. So you have all these different states and you have a switch and a button that controls all of that. But what is the interface for a traffic light? Well, we don't really have a way as the public to go push a button, but there's a timer in a lot of cases that can probably be adjusted by some engineer somewhere or whatever. So with that being said, probably, there's just some kind of electrical switch or something, or software even, that says move to the next state. And so internally it just needs to know, okay, the next state from red is green, from green it's yellow, and so on and so forth. So my interface for this is literally going to be something where it's like traffic light with a transition method. That's basically how I'm going to define that. So essentially, we need to know what the current color is, we need some rules for transitioning, and then we're going to expose a method that lets us just transition. So let's go ahead and build this out. It should be pretty simple. So we'll create a new file, and I'm just going to call it trafficlight.rb, and in here we'll just create a new class, trafficlight. I'm going to create an initialize method. And it's not going to take any arguments. It's just going to set a color to be red, we're going to add a adder reader, so that it's like basically a getter if you're not familiar, for the color, so we can just always check and see what is the color. Okay, so that's basically our state, right? So we're going to change the state to be different colors. So next we need to actually define our transition method. So transition is essentially going to be the endpoint or the API for this class primarily. So this is the interface through which we will tell the app what to do, or tell this program what to do. So the only thing we need to keep track of here really is the color. So this is actually going to be really simple. So we'll say case color, and then whenever we have red, we'll say @color equals green. Whenever we have green, we'll say @color is yellow. And when we have yellow, we'll set the color to red. And I need an equal sign here. Okay, then at the end, what I want to do down here is just put a statement and say the light has changed to, and then we'll say @color. Okay, so simple enough. Let's go over to the terminal and try this out. So we'll go IRB, and then I'm just going to require, and this is going to work because if you're kind of new to Ruby, I'm actually in the state machines directory here, so I can say /traffic light.rb. Now I should have my traffic light object here. So what I'm going to do is just say light equals traffic light.new. So now if I say light.color, then if I say light.transition, the light has changed to green. I can check the color is now green. So now we actually have a process in place where it knows how to transition from state to state to state. So let's actually do something a little bit more interesting and implement a timer that will do this on a timing basis so that the state machine is actually just running. And then let's see how we can interact with it as if we are sitting in front of it trying to see when we can actually proceed. So the end result is essentially going to be that we have a real traffic light and we're sitting in front of it in our car trying to decide when we can actually move forward. So let's go over here and let's create a new file, and we're going to call this timer.rb. So first of all, we need to require time. So that's a standard Ruby library that we can bring in. And I'm also going to require the traffic lights. And then I'm just going to create a class timer. And let's just really quickly check that we save this and make sure we're bringing this stuff in right. So let's require, I'm going to quit out of this session and run into IRB again. And then I'm going to require timer. And actually that should be /timer. And so now I should have my timer, and I should also have my traffic light. Okay, cool. So let's jump back over into the code here. So the timer is going to take in let's create an initialize method, and it's going to take in a traffic light. And then I'm also going to give it a duration and set that equal to 10. And that is going to be essentially equal to 10 seconds. And you know what? Let's make that 5. So I'm going to say @traffic light is traffic light, and @duration equals duration. And then we'll set those up here in adder readers, same as the other class. So we have our traffic light, and we have our duration. So down here, I'm going to create a start method for the timer. And what I'm going to do is say while true, so as long as the program is running, this is going to happen. While true, we want to say, how can we do this? If time.now minus Actually, what I need to do also is say at current time equals time.now. So basically what I'm going to say is when we create the timer, mark down that time. So then what I'm going to do is while this thing is running, so it's in a while loop that's always running, so this thing is just going to continuously run. And then we're going to say if time.now plus duration is greater than current time. So actually, that might not be the best variable name, but we won't worry about it right now. Hopefully this makes some sense to you. So we're going to say if time.now plus duration is greater than current time. So if, actually, you know what? This is not right. If time.now, that's why I'm confusing myself, is greater than current time plus 10, or plus duration rather. So, sorry, I'm kind of just talking myself through this. So if the current time, so time.now, actually let's change this to be time at start, something like that. So if time.now is greater than time at start plus duration, I want to actually set at time at start is equal to time.now. So we're actually sort of resetting the timer in that sense. I also need to add time at start here. What I want to do is essentially say traffic light.transition. And that's it. So basically this is going to say as long as the program is running, so while true, if the current time, time.now, is greater than the time at start, the plus the duration, so in this case it's going to be whatever the previously registered time.now was plus 5 seconds, we're going to update the time at start to be now, so reset the timer, and then transition the traffic light. So let's go check this out. So I'm going to quit out of this again, I'm going to clear up my console, and I'm going to go back into IRB. Now I'm going to require timer, and we'll say traffic light equals traffic light dot new, and then I'm going to say timer equals timer dot new and give it that traffic light. Now if I say timer dot start, every 5 seconds we ought to start seeing it print out that the light has changed. So you can see it just changed to green, should change to yellow any second now, and back to red. And so we can kind of see that our light is working. Okay, so this gets us like part of the way to where we want to go. Because what I want to be able to do is say, as a person sitting in front of it, I can observe the thing changing at any given moment. So I should be able to look at the light at any second and be like, the light is red. So this thing is telling us that it's changing, but I want to go a little bit further and actually be able to query it at any given time and check the state. And just so you know, I hit Control-C to stop that on my computer. So you can see right here this little symbol and then the C. So let's quit out of this one more time and clear it again. And then I'm going to go back over to my code and I'm going to create a new file. And I'm going to call this file thread runner. And that may not be the best name, but that's fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and require timer. And then all I want to do in here is say thread.new do. And actually that's not quite right. So what I need to do first of all is say light, and I'm going to make it all capitals to signify that this is basically a global variable constant. And I'll get into more stuff about threads later. This is just kind of a simple way for me to do this right now. But we'll say light equals, and then we'll do traffic light dot new, and then what I want to do next is say timer equals timer dot new, and then give it that light. And then since this is essentially global, we'll be able to access this later no matter what's happening. So then inside of here we'll say timer dot transition. I believe that will work for us. I might need to give it the timer here. Let me try it without it, and then we'll see where we are. So let's go ahead and require the thread runner. And you can see here we've got a problem, undefined method, transition for timer. I should have said timer.start. That's my bad. Okay, so I'm going to quit this, do it again, require thread runner. And so what's going to happen here is that's going to just automatically run. So you can see here now that we have light has changed to green, and then we should have light has changed to yellow, and so on and so forth. So at any given moment, if you want to like get a new line, so this is a strange thing in the terminal, but you can actually check the light. And so I'm actually going to stop this really quick with Control C and then quit. And I'm going to go back over to my program and make this 10 seconds. So remember, we gave this the option to set it for longer. So I'm going to make it 10 so that I have a little more time to play around. So clear this again, IRB. I'm going to require the thread runner. So I can always check my constant. And I can check that and say light.color. It's going to tell me red. So we should get something here in just a second that changes it to green. So we can do light.color again. And if you want to get clarity on where you are, just hit enter a couple of times. So it's green. So now I am the person basically sitting in front of the traffic light watching it change colors. So I can check the light.color and it's yellow. So we can sit here and observe our state machine going through the various states. So this is pretty cool. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this and quit out so that it stops running. But I think that's about it for this episode. So if you have any questions, throw them down in the comments and I'll try to answer as many as I can. And I will talk to you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.